Hi, I'm Ranesha Chickering, and I'm going to be discussing Chickering's theory of identity development in college students. My Prezi is based upon traditional college students, those that are leaving high school and entering into college in their late teens. So here we go. The first stage of development in Chickering's theory is developing competence. There are three levels of competence that Chickering includes. It's intellectual competence, which encompasses the ability for students to retain content, develop skills to use in the professional world, and to build skills that will help them be sophisticated in analyzing and understanding those around them. Um, the next form of competence is physical competence. This includes physical and artistic abilities that are given by physical strengths, athletics, health, and physique. The last form of competence that Chickering includes is interpersonal competence. This embodies the capability to communicate effectively, collaborate in a participatory setting, and interacting appropriately in social settings. All three of these stages are very important. The strength that I've identified for this stage is development does not just address the intellectual stamina of students. Chickering's theory collectively discusses the changes that students are experiencing throughout the college socially and physically and interpersonally as well. So various things like the gender, social groups, other cultures, body image, collegiate dance and athletic groups. A weakness of this theory is that in these areas, they do not represent themselves at the same time. So each student in college does not automatically go into each stage at the same time. We've discussed a lot about brain development in this course, and that is something that we realize does not always happen the same in each student or person at the exact same time. The second stage in development is managing emotions. Development in this stage for students begin when they consider that their feelings are normal reactions to life's events, conversations, and being in control of their reactions in an appropriate way. Students are being placed in situations that will cause them to think more responsibly at this stage. At this point, students are undergoing a transition of leaving an authoritative household where you are basically to be obedient to your parents, and now they're at a stage where they can have some free choice in how they react to different situations. The strengths in this stage of development are that students are able to develop a sense of self and control their decisions to various situations. They are tested and are frequently in situations where they need to consider their values, consequences, and reactions before responding. We know that a lot of students at this age are not prone to think about consequences ahead of time, but this is where they are most tested, where they can be in a certain situation or circumstance and then decide for themselves what is best. So they're thinking about the consequences indirectly and how it's going to affect the outcome. One of the weaknesses in this stage is that mental health diagnoses are not considered here. When students exhibit these types of disturbances, it could cause uh, emotional or irrational thoughts, and their judgment can be impaired. When students are considerably independent from their parents, they do explore different avenues of handling situations, experimenting with drugs and sexuality, which can skew their decision-making skills. The third stage in Chickering's theory of identity development is the autonomy of interdependence, or autonomy to interdependence. Throughout this stage of development, students are increasing their independence, which means that they no longer need affirmations, reassurances, and approval from others. A strength here is that students are learning to become more aware of giving themselves self-praise instead of seeking it from others. They are being they're able to begin to give themselves their own kudos and commend themselves for a job well done, and internalizing the work that they've done on their own strides and efforts. So here's where students are starting to say, hey, I'm going to give myself a pat on the back because I can't believe I accomplished that in such a short amount of time. If they're working against other external forces that could keep them from accomplishing something, the adversity that they've overcome will definitely be something that they want to reward themselves for. The weaknesses that I see in this stage are that students may see their efforts as more than what they are. This may be the stage where they kind of perceive your constructive criticism as more of an attack, instead of something that's going to promote their well-being. I know like I said, we've discussed brain development, and being reactive seems to be a common theme for students that are around this age. So we want to make sure that we are giving them constructive criticism in a way that they are going to be receptive to it. The fourth stage of Chickering's identity theory is developing mature interpersonal relationships. This means this stage is where students are beginning to develop a sense of self. When students can interact with others, they begin to accept the differences of others and appreciate their similar attributes. So students are now seeing that even though we all come from different walks of life, there are things about us that can still make us connected and intertwined in some way. Some of the strengths in this theory, or in this stage, are that students are becoming more aware that their culture is not the only culture. They're exposing themselves to a new environment and people that could add benefit to their lives, and ones that they could learn from. Students are going to be really diving deeply into their own thoughts and their own feelings, and their reactions to different literature, to different conversations and discussions that they'll have amongst their peers. This is when they start to be receptive to understanding an opposing view, and really understanding how does that shape their perception of a situation, or of a reaction to a certain theory or method or idea. Some of the weaknesses that I think is that students can be too focused on acceptance and then forget to use their sensors in specific situations. So if a student is totally open to accepting others as they are, they may forget to use some of their common sense when they need to have some boundaries and safeguards set in place against someone that may appear to have goodwill, but could potentially be harmful to or detrimental to their advancement or their success or their well-being. So they still have to be aware of their safety issues. Establishing identity is stage number 5. This developmental stage shows students, or allows students to explore the areas of life that they have yet to. This stage allows for students to advance in their responses to their wants and needs, to stand up against wrongs and fight for their own rights and those of others. This is a stage that students can be faced with ethical and value compromising positions that may change them forever. So the strength that I saw in this is that the stage invites students to develop into the person that they feel like they want to be. They decide what they value, what ethical stances they want to take, and they learn how to they learn self-acceptance during this stage. So many students are deciding, they're really analyzing who they are, and they're really taking into account what they want to do and only what they want to do, aside from any external forces or professionals, parents, authority figure, family members. They're really thinking about who they want to be and why. One of the weaknesses that I found is that when students decide their identity and the change that they want to make, it could divide their family, friends, and maybe even their social status. Students are not always thinking about their future, professional opportunities, or their reputation. When they want to establish their identity, there are some consequences that come along with some of the choices that they will soon have to make, and we want to make sure that they're not creating more obstacles for themselves, but that they are trying to advance themselves towards their future ambitions and aspirations. We don't want students making the wrong choices, but at the same time, this is probably a growing pain for families and for students, because it's something that begins to become unfamiliar, or something that's being tested when you thought your student left home, they were very solid in who they were, their faith, their career choices, and now when they get to college, they're really evolving into a different person, to advance and enter into the professional force. Developing purpose. This stage Guide students towards why they are here. Students are beginning to understand their calling and how they can achieve their goals. Students will be more intentional in career choices and participate in various activities that advances them towards their purpose in life. Many students correlate this stage with financial stability, a good job, and something that appeals to them in their interest. Students are now deciding their academic direction. And if they're saying, you know what, photography is my passion, then I'm going to, head that way, even though I may have came to college thinking, okay, well, I want to pursue business administration. And they're really looking for something that's going to provide an answer to why they're here. I think that's the big overall question is students want to know what are they here for, what are they supposed to do while they're here, and college is a way to kind of strengthen that and support their decision. The strengths of this stage are students are able to establish a beginning to their career and create a plan that will allow them to be successful in their future endeavors. When students are aware of their purpose, they begin to envision everything that they've ever imagined, everything they want to be. They start to envision their future. Are they going to be owning a photography company? Are they going to be shooting for the Indianapolis Star? They're able to try to create new goals with their passion and purpose in mind. So that's a huge strength I feel for this stage. A weakness for this stage is that I potentially foresee is that students are indecisive about big decisions, such as career choices. Students may pursue a career that they thought would be, exhilarating and it would really provide a great life for them and really answer the reason of why they're here, but they may discover that the career doesn't fulfill them as much as they thought. The last stage is developing integrity. In this stage, students are beginning to see the value in balancing their own views and concerns with that of others. Students are developing a value system that embodies empathy for others. They're beginning to see that just thinking about themselves is not exactly the way to survive in the world. They have to test their own values and respond accordingly. In college, we're faced with a lot of adversity, whether that is in the media, whether that's on campus, whether that's academically, whether that's a sport. We do have to face some of challenges. And in the world, we start to be more aware of what's going on in the world, and we try to involve ourselves in making a decision and taking a stance on what we feel is right. So different injustices and inequalities that are going on in the world, we try to, even if it may not be happening to someone in our culture or even in our country, we still try to empathize and think about how this will impact us and impact the people that are actually going through it. So I definitely see this stage as a strength for students to develop a self-concern for others, and it's something that doesn't even directly benefit themselves. Empathy, compassion, and values are truly developed here. Students are beginning to take a stance on specific positions and support their efforts. So they're definitely behind whatever it is that they're thinking and whatever it is they're pursuing. In the helps that others will be, rescued and helped further from this. A weakness that I do believe is that sometimes these acts may not be reciprocated. If we go out on a whim and we decide, okay, we're going to take a stance for you, we would like to think that you would do the same for us, but due to values or judgments, beliefs, or biases, that may not ever happen, or it may not happen as often as we'd like it to. Students have, the tendency to become enraged with others. And in this stage, we've seen that. However, they will be able to understand that this is a part of the cycle of communication and of life. So students are able to come to the realization that everyone doesn't do what you expect them to do. They're going to do what's best for them in the end. Even though when you're thinking about others and developing your integrity, you are considering others' well-being aside from yourself. That is my presentation on Chickering's theory of identity development. Thank you.